world timeline of national flags. What are they going to look like in the next 1,000 years? Of course, national flags are going to coincide with what is going on internally in the country. For example, if a nation decides to become communist, or just any other type of government, fascism, monarchies included. But also, for instance, if two places unify, whether it's diplomatically or by peace, all these could require a flag change to represent that the place is now different. Sometimes the place isn't even different at all. They just want to update the flag. But we're going to see a lot of different examples in this video here. This is by Geography and Space. Please go subscribe. Again, something that I like about this is not only are we covering the future and the future world map, but the flag updates, kind of also like future predictions about what's going to happen. We're obviously starting this video off in 2024. So we have 1,000 years to get through. Obviously, there's already some small changes happening in Africa. Well, 5 years just went by in like 3 seconds. Let me pay more attention to this. So immediately we're predicting a couple of, okay, that is the East African Federation rising up. And that is actually the currently proposed flag for this union. Problem is, it looks like it maybe breaks up. Okay, there's also, this looks like a civil war that just happened in Libya. There are going to be so many small little details that happen in this video. I'm going to miss so much. This is an unbelievable video because of all the things that are happening. Okay, so there's been small changes in the border, probably a couple wars. I believe Belarus just changed their flag. This is the big thing though. Immediately, okay, well, first of all, the moon now has a Chinese flag on it. So apparently China's claiming the moon here in 2036. That would probably cause some wars. Not only that, but they're claiming the South China Sea and more than just that. Was that a mini war? Yeah, I don't think North Korea is here anymore, and they were briefly on Japan. Oh yeah, the US just kicked them out. This is a war with China already by the 2030s. They do predict that sometimes. Okay, so now the Chinese are getting pushed in. Now China's back into well, they're back doing normal Chinese things. Civil wars, lots of people dying, lots of warlords. I think Tibet is now here. That doesn't look like a democratic China. That looks more like, okay, now we have changes in Russia. So is Greenland independent, or are they still under Denmark because they have a different flag here? What's going on with Mexico? The East African Federation is still here, and I believe New Zealand just changed their flag for no reason. They were just like, yeah, it's about time we updated this. I like how Australia decided not to do that. Oh, look at this mini detail. They're using an older style Union Jack because I believe the United Kingdom just lost Northern Ireland. As you can see, Ireland themselves is united here, and it's only 2047. Did something happen bad to Mongolia? I am not really sure what's going on in Mongolia. There's also a united island of Papa. Finally, Australia got in changing their flag. Wait a second, look at all these islands. Some of these islands in the Pacific, did they go to Wales? No, it did not actually go to Wales, but not only did Northern Ireland just get their independence, but so did Scotland, leaving only the kingdoms of England and Wales. I guess since it's only England and Wales, they finally decided to show Wales some representation on the Union Jack. So you can see the English Red Cross, and then in the background, the bottom half is green and the top is white. The United Kingdom is technically still United Kingdom. What was that? It's 2055, and I believe the US just landed on Mars, or were claiming Mars. I think that's Mars. Man, look at all there's some flag changes in the Pacific. I'm kind of keeping an eye on, okay, clearly the US is adding new states. Obviously, we've had to update our flag every time we add a new territory. I'm assuming we're going to have to continue with that theme if we ever do want to add Puerto Rico or DC as a state. I'm not sure I can tell by just looking at this map right now in 2063 exactly which place we added as a state. I mean, everything's probably too small. It might be some of the overseas Pacific territories, because I'm seeing some American flags out there in the ocean. Someone else just made it to something. Did India now just make it to Mars? There are a couple of like brief civil wars that are happening. Some places are just changing their flag. I think Canada just made it to the first meteor. Yes, that meteor exactly. In 2081, are there any war? It looks like Ukraine like has Crimea back. Oh wait, did the Ottomans just form back up? They just took over Iraq. They might actually end up losing that. There was a couple of civil wars as they moved into Iraq. I like the flag change out of Persia. Somebody just into Nordic. Oh, and then I think this people group just got their independence. I think a Celtic nation just formed between Ireland and Scotland. There's so many little details happening in this video. Like, I cannot catch them all. I think that, well, that's everything looks normal there. What the heck is that? That is giving me very like monarchist Russia. They either brought back the Tsar, or they kind of just have a empire again. I think the latter is more likely. Although it's not a super epic empire, I will say. I mean, why are they changing their flag? Oh, there's United South Korea. Does Japan have Taiwan, or what's going? Okay, China just changed. I think China's back and united again. This is also a bigger Mongolia. Quebec is independent over here in Canada. There's a couple new states forming out of, okay, I think the Soviet Union Union just reformed because they got all of Central Asia and pretty much all their former states. I think there's a war happening, actually. Yeah, they're moving in after. Okay, there's a war happening with Russia trying to reform with the Ottomans. Who knows who's allied to what? It's 100 years in the future. It's 2124. Also, China is doing crazy Chinese empire things, giving the Philippines, the Korean Peninsula, Japan. They might go even further. They now have Southeast Asia. They wiped out Indonesia. They have to be allied. They definitely have to be allied. And then maybe the Ottomans are allied to them as well. Looks like the East Federation of Africa is growing bigger, and there might be also maybe a United States of Africa this way. I mean, that was always an idea. Oh, this is a cool proposed flag out of Bolivia. I know that there's so much chaos happening right now, and I shouldn't be focusing on Bolivia. China has entered continental Australia, I believe. Okay, they're now invading California. What planet was that? That might be on the sun. Who's on the sun? Is that China on the sun? Why did they do that? Okay, and now China is getting pushed back by 2036. Here come the Americans and the Australians together to push them back onto their continent. Australia's going to break up again, and then the Europeans also push the Russians out. That's back to an old Russian flag. The United States is literally just occupying China right here in 2041, and they have reunited the Japanese and South Koreans. What kind of France is that? That looks like a scary... That's not a fascist France, is it? Wales is finally... I don't know when Wales got their independence from England. England still controls their overseas territories over here, though. I haven't made much comment about Antarctica, but it's still very divided. I don't know if there's really much we can do. It's going to be the future. Maybe we'll find a resource down below the snow that we need in Antarctica. Who knows? Okay, so that was probably World War IV, possibly. Or was it World War III? World War III might have been the first time we had to break up China and they got into like another warlord period. That might have been World War IV. Surprisingly, the world hasn't completely collapsed yet. We're still not in the apocalypse. Maybe nukes haven't flown just yet. Ooh, look at that old Ukrainian flag. Also, we have Brazil making it onto... This might be a moon. Yeah, that's actually a natural satellite of Mars. I know it looks like an asteroid. It doesn't look like any moon normally, but still kind of forming there. But look at Chad with this nice palm tree here. Africa seems to be growing. That federation, it might be growing into something else. Antarctica has a very popular proposed flag for Antarctica, or at least for the South Pole. Look at this new Greenland flag. Still not green. What's up with that? It's 2186. We're only... Oh, there we go. Bringing back the three-leaf leaves. Three-leaf clovers? I don't know what you can call that. This looks like Brazil is like back to being a monarchist. Also, did they annex Paraguay and Uruguay? Quebec is still independent, and we have Russia back to an old... Again, Russia's going back to their... Russia's going to continue to invade. India's changed and updated their flag, but I don't think they grabbed any new territory, possibly. So the EU has just become a solid nation, clearly. It's no longer just a union of countries. I think we now just have France and Germany in one country, which who knows what's going to happen to languages. Oh, and then all the EU. Oh, there's like literally a war that's happening. So they went after Russia. What is going... Is this fascism taking over in the European Union or what? Those flags just definitely look scary. They invaded Russia, maybe aggressively. I love how we need to... Oh, look at Kazakhstan go. Kazakhstan eating a big chunk out of Mongolia. I don't even know what is going on with China at this point. We finally have a North American Union with the US and Canada forming into one thing. We have another little space exploration. Africa continues to grow a little bit. They also have part of Madagascar, but they don't have the rest of it. They haven't unified just yet. Oh boy, is this a civil war in India? That would be just as scary as a civil war in China, maybe even scarier. At this point, 24, I mean, you have to think about like demographics. We do predict that China is going to stagnate or even decrease in terms of population. Meanwhile, India's got a lot longer to continue to increase. So Indian civil wars would be even crazier. I can't even imagine, since they already are the top nation with the most population. Okay, so Russia just took over Mongolia. They're also bordering now Korea. Mexico's had a flag change. Possibly they're going to join this North American Union. Was that... I don't know who just made it to... That looked like Austria, but I don't think it is. Oh man, I'm not going to recognize a lot of these flags because so many of these are updating. That looks like another Soviet Union there. I mean, you put a red background with yellow stars, I'm going to think the Soviet Union. Kazakhstan is in a war. I think they might have gotten there. They were briefly taken over for a second there, right? Again, Africa just continues to form. That is a monarchist... That's an old monarchist French flag, and they have maybe a union with Spain. Okay, so now people are there. Greenland's taking over Nunavut, or those... I don't even know if that's a province anymore in Canada, or are we just a state? I like how we integrated their Canadian leaf, though, in our state star sort of format. What is that? Okay, so a lot of these, as we continue to grow, I think more of the flags should maybe represent more of space. I think because there's going to be a lot more space exploration. I think that's why they keep showing it here in the top right-hand corner. We're going to see, I think the flags reflect a more spatial empire, more something about the solar system and things like that. I mean, that's definitely the vibe that I'm getting from Brazil, but that they already kind of had a big globe on their flag before that. I don't even know. Some of these flags look very old. Brazil's back to their old style flag. France and Spain have retaken what is modern day Quebec, and now it is white. What is that? I feel like I've seen some of those symbols before. I mean, this is 200 years into the future, so who knows? I mean, if you look back at like old flags from 200 years ago, we don't recognize any of those flags. Like even 100 years ago, to be honest. Flags just update. update with time. I actually feel like we haven't been seeing many flag updates compared to the rest of history. That's partly because, okay, what the heck is going on in Latin America? This seems like some sort of Latin uprising basically here. Africa has become fully united. I believe the Australians have just given independence to some of their native populations. The British are now back with Wales and Scotland, but Ireland is still united. But we finally have a Nordic Union up here with all the Nordic countries, including Iceland. Germany, that looks very scary. I don't know what you're doing, but is that Byzantium? Is Byzantium back? What the heck? Okay, there's an Islamic Union. This is definitely the Arab states forming, especially around north of Africa. That's made this African Union a little bit weaker. That is definitely the Confederates rising up again here in Texas, possibly. Or is this one? I can't even tell by the style of flag that is. Yeah, this is maybe a greater Mexico that took back the states like California, the Pacific, and they've gone all the way down. It might not be Mexico. It could just be like Latin America, something like that. The Spanish-speaking part specifically. Did Brazil break up into a bunch of tiny pieces? I think they might have. India did as well. There is a new African-style flag. I believe, I don't think, okay, Russia's broken down into a bunch of pieces, which that's going to happen. There's probably going to be unification. South Asia's back to their old way. Okay, now those are all the states independent again. Okay, so the federal government has completely collapsed here in all of North America. It's just feudal states, I think, at this point. Reminded me of that old Fallout mod that you could play in Hearts of Iron 4. It's just the Arab Union. Okay, wait a second. I think this map is giving me vibes that maybe some nukes had been dropped because there are no big governments anymore. It looks like everything kind of just collapsed. It's like it's a Mad Max world, kind of. So I think we're going to see humans have to slowly reconsolidate as everyone's gone back to the medieval times. Oh, there's some original, yeah, there are some old, I see some of these Brazilian provinces before. Wow, this state here, this is the biggest. I think, is this the Amazon? They're bigger than ever, but there's not a lot of population over there. Let's see what state unifies in the United States. It's kind of complicated. I can recognize California, I can recognize Texas, and I guess Florida, but who's going to unite the rest of all of these places? Also, Canada is changing their provincial flags a lot. Please, Greenland, just unite this world. Is this just a battle royale? I wonder if someone's going to take over the entire thing. This is unbelievable. Do you know how many flags there must be on this map? Okay, the only place that might be united is Hindu. This is like a Hindustan, or I meant India, but they might be called Nation of Bharat or Hindustan now, something like that. It's probably not Hindustan. Well, okay, the US is back. I don't know who took that over, but Alaska's an independent state, I believe. They might have to go up here to Canada and retake a lot of things. How are people still going to space? I don't see how they're able to do that. I guess some places are doing better than others. Korea has Chinese Manchuria, and they're actually growing even bigger. Love to see that out of Korea, especially if the Chinese power in that region is weaker than normal, then that would explain some things. The Ottomans, I think, are trying their thing. China continues to grow. There's some cool dragons on their flag. I like how Seychelles is completely normal. That might be the most recognizable place. I think Europe is beginning to, well, the United Kingdom is still very divided. There's no United Kingdoms. There's just kingdoms in general. Russia could be maybe going to take advantage of all the broken pieces in Europe. Africa's still a mess. I'm wondering if there's going to be some colonization. The U.S. hasn't gotten back like Washington, and they're losing Oregon. There's a war actually happening with Canada. I think there might be 2 different Canadian states, and then Greenland has the Arctic up here. By 2627, I got to imagine the North Pole is just completely melted. I wonder if like sea levels have risen a little bit. That would have been cool if this map reflected sea level rise, because I'm sure that is definitely going to happen. The borders would be looking really messy. So China has now a small like horizontal red line through their things. They've also reunited with Korean Peninsula. I don't even want to know. Is there contamination going on here in Europe? I think we're on like World War VII at this point. I think the penguins have taken over. These are clearly hyper intelligent penguins that are now leading Antarctica. That kind of makes sense. Communism is back on the rise in China. Wow, that's another flag change. I don't think they're communists anymore. Maybe they are. Russia's got a black flag with their normal kind of coat of arms style. Canada's taken us over. Canada has taken over the United States in 2700. I don't even know. That's Argentina, I think. A northern Argentina that might finally get the revenge on Brazil. We don't have a united Oceania. I thought that was possible, but maybe they did that. I'm sure I probably missed that. Really weird to see France with green in their flag. This green, and okay, that looks like straight up like Thailand has taken them over. I wonder if I've been missing, ooh, there's an old, that's like a Republic in Spain with that purple. That's giving me a vibe up. There's some old style Canadian flags that are making comebacks. That makes sense because a lot of flags do go back in history and then kind of reappear in the timeline. For instance, the current day German flag has been around for a while. They had other flags, obviously, in the last 100 years. They kind of go back to it. So to see some of those former proposals make an appearance in the future, even if it is 4 centuries into the future, that's not that far-fetched. That's actually probably really likely. Wow, look at that crazy flag out of India. I don't even know if that's India or if that is Afghanistan. There's a weird union between Russia and China. I don't think we could even predict the demographics of the world in 2800. I mean, there's going to be so many. I think we're all going to speak probably one language by then. Who knows how many languages really still exist? Probably none. At the way the internet's going, at the way everything's connected, it won't even be familiar. Have you ever looked at English from 400 years ago? It is unrecognizable. I can't even understand it, to be honest. That's like Shakespearean. I mean, it's really difficult to understand. So whatever language these humans are speaking, please tell me these are gorillas, hyper intelligent gorillas. I would love that. Planet of the Apes, let's go. Yeah, I'm like imagining a language of the future that's like a combination of like English, Chinese, and Hindi, like the most spoken languages out of out of the world, with over like 1 billion people speaking all of it. It's just like a weird alien language that we can't even really wrap our minds around, especially because the evolution of things continue. Okay, so Russia is now united with the Korean Peninsula and China, or Japan, but they're continuing to lose things. Really weird North America here. I wish we had like population numbers. I think this looks like Native Americans almost, but these might be like the Polynesians being their own individual thing. I'm seeing a lot of animals pop up on flags, and they're not in the style of coat of arms. So I'm hoping that there's intelligent beings. Oh, I didn't even think about that. Alien nations coming on down. We're definitely exploring space, clearly, but I don't know if any of these nations are actually aliens that are living with us, or if they're intelligent animals. I don't think they're intelligent animals. Finally, we have a united America. Also, Antarctica's united. Oh, here we go. By the year, we're almost at the new millennium, the year 3000. Come on, you cannot tell me that's not seahorses. There's got to be seahorses in Australia that are running things now. Okay, yeah, I think we're going until one is left. So clearly the Americans have taken over Antarctica. And now we're taking over the Pacific. They're going to take over the seahorses in Australia. I don't know if they're seahorses. I'm just imagining. That looks like an Islamic African Union, basically. I can't even imagine what's going on faith-wise. Maybe Islam has taken over all of this continent. It's possible. And then we have a Eurasia. Oh, this is literally 1984. This is literally 1984. That's what this is referencing. I'm fairly certain for now. Well, now there's only 2 nations. It's just Eurasia. This is looking more democratic. This could have been, I don't really know, but this is just a one world government. One world. I think we're just too busy out here exploring. Yeah. Actually, this represents, I looked at this recently. This is just a world flag. Each ring represents each of the 7 continents. I believe there are 7 rings here, basically. Again, I kind of joke about, yeah, this is just the world. So now we're communicating with aliens and we're too busy and we don't want to fight each other anymore, basically. I mean, who knows? That could totally happen. Again, this video is by Geography in Space. Please go subscribe. We'll have to come back in 1,000 years to see what he got right.
Big thanks to my patrons.
You can find a link in the description down below to support me.
The beautiful Megan Underwood. Drum your dad back with the milk.
Look outside.
A fat
I
normal.
cannot sleep without
Jack
Drew's voice.
Traven's annoying
Amateur
friend.
archaeology.
Carmel
Fredrik
Saida.
Tibblin. InquisitorXarius.
JohnDenver.
KirinoIsBestGirl.
Sebby, if you hear
Robert
this,
E.
I love you.
Tambrin.
The Great
The
Ralphy.
Mexican 760.
And ZaneyBoi.